two have just knocked on their door. It tore the whole house down. If you enjoyed watching this golden child turn into a lead weight, subscribe for more stories where the truth hits harder than a gavel. One half I, 16M, am currently sitting in a motel room paid for by a friend's older brother, staring at a trash bag containing everything I own. My father, 45M, told me a few hours ago that if he ever saw my face again, he'd call the police to have me removed for trespassing. He called me a disgrace. He called me a predator. He looked at me with a level of disgust that I didn't think a human being could hold for their own blood. All because of my brother, 17M. My brother has always been the golden child, but not in the way you see in movies where the kid is actually talented. He's the golden child because he's a master of projection. He's the one who gets caught drinking and convinces my father it was my idea. He's the one who fails a test and blames the distraction of my music. My father, a man who prides himself on traditional discipline and integrity, has a blind spot for him the size of a freight train. My father is also the city attorney, so he's obsessed with his spotless reputation. The escalation started a few days ago. My brother has been hanging out with a rough crowd, older guys who deal in more than just weed. I found a stash of pills in his room while I was looking for my missing sneakers. I didn't snitch because I know how my father reacts. I just told my brother to get it out of the house. He told me to mind my business or he'd make me his business. He had this look in his eyes, cold, entitled, like the world owed him everything, and I was just an obstacle. 2 days later, my father's home office safe was broken into. He keeps a lot of emergency cash there, about $4,000, along with some family jewelry. When he came home and found the door to his office kicked in, he didn't call the cops. He called us into the living room. My brother didn't even wait for the question. He started crying on cue. He told my father he saw me do it. He said I pushed him and threatened him and that I needed the money for debts. I stood there, paralyzed. I told my father I was at the library until 6 p.m. and had the login timestamp to prove it. But my brother was ready. He told my father that the library is just blocks away from a known dealer's house. Then he told my father to check the lining of my school bag. My father marched to my room, ripped my backpack open, and sliced the lining with a pocket knife. Out fell my grandmother's gold watch and a roll of hundreds. I didn't put them there. I had no idea they were even in the house. But the look on my father's face told me the truth didn't matter. The evidence was found. My father grabbed me by the collar and dragged me to the front door. He told me I was a thief and a liar. He said he wasn't filing a police report only because he didn't want the paperwork linked to his address, but that I was dead to him. He told me if I ever stepped on the property again, he'd press charges for burglary. He threw my bag into the dirt and slammed the door. I heard the deadbolt click. What they didn't know is that I've been recording things on my laptop for a while. I'd bought a tiny, motion-activated spy camera with my lawn mowing money and hidden it inside a hollowed-out book on the office shelf months ago. I didn't do it to catch a thief. I did it because my brother kept stealing my stuff, and I wanted proof. While sitting in that motel, I logged into the cloud server. The footage was there. It showed my brother entering the office with a crowbar at 2:14 p.m. while I was at the library. It showed him sweating for 20 minutes to pry the door open. It showed him taking the cash and the watch. But then it showed something else. He pulled a baggie of heavy white powder out of his own pocket and tucked it into a hidden compartment in the safe. Then he walked into my room, tucked the jewelry into my bag, and used a needle and thread to sew it shut. He even did a little mock salute to the mirror. I didn't go to the local police. My father is the city attorney. The local cops are his friends. I went to a legal aid clinic the next morning. The lawyer there told me that under Missouri law, RSMO Section 210.110, my father was committing child abandonment. But more importantly, she saw the video. She told me this was felony framing. I waited until Saturday for my move. That was new car day. My father had bought my brother a brand new, charcoal gray Mustang to compensate for the trauma of my betrayal. He'd invited my aunt, cousins, and some influential neighbors over for a barbecue to celebrate my brother's early graduation gift and to subtly explain why I was gone. I walked through the side gate while they were all on the patio. The silence was instant. My father dropped his grilling tongs and marched toward me, whispering that he'd call the cops in 10 seconds if I didn't leave. I told him I wasn't there for the food. I was there to return something. I held up a USB drive and said loud enough for the neighbors to hear that the police were already on their way, but they were county sheriffs, people who didn't report to him. My brother started screaming that I was trying to ruin his day, but I told everyone exactly what was on the tape. I told them about the burglary, the planting of evidence, and the extra baggie my brother had tucked away. Right then, 2 county cruisers pulled into the driveway. My father tried to use his city attorney voice to tell the deputies it was a family matter, but the lead deputy told him they had a warrant to search the Mustang based on the video I'd provided to the county prosecutor. The deputies didn't have to look hard. My brother, in his infinite entitlement, had hidden his new stash, the stuff he'd bought with the stolen $4,000, right in the glove box. They pulled out a heavy bag of MDMA and the remaining $2,200 in cash. My brother was pressed against the hood of his $50,000 gift in handcuffs while the neighbors recorded everything on their phones. My father turned to me and called me a monster for destroying my brother's life. I told him I didn't do anything but stop being his punching bag. I told him he was so lazy, he chose a lie over his own son because it fit his narrative better. But the real kicker was the extra secret. I told the officers to check the safe again, specifically the false back behind the bottom drawer. I'd seen my father hiding documents there for years. When the deputies opened that false back, they found ledgers of consultation fees from local developers. These were records of bribes that matched perfectly with zoning votes my father had influenced as a city official. My father's face went from purple to ghostly white. He wasn't just losing his golden child, he was losing his career. The legal fallout was a total landslide. My brother was charged as an adult for the MDMA and the burglary. He tried to blame me in his statement, but the video of him laughing while he sewed the jewelry into my bag made him look like a total sociopath to the judge. He's currently trading his designer clothes for an orange jumpsuit. My father was forced to resign in disgrace and is facing multiple counts of bribery and official misconduct. He's going to spend years in court, and his reputation is completely trashed. My mother is left picking up the pieces of a perfect life that was actually built on crime and lies. I moved in with my aunt, who was the only one to believe me from the start. I used my grandfather's trust fund to start over. Looking back, being called a disgrace was a blessing. I was a disgrace to a family of criminals and liars, and I'm perfectly okay with that. Just